everyone, and welcome to Coming Soon Movie News with Nicholson. I'm your host, and on this show we're going to be breaking down all of the day's movie news and kind of giving a little bit of background into what it all means for the production in general, such as casting decisions, trailer announcements, director announcements, things like that. So, without any further ado, let's get into today's topics. And with the exception of the first topic, today is primarily a trailer day. A couple of new trailers were released, and there was one that I was hoping would come out today, but it will be released tomorrow. And even though I only do videos Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I will be doing a short video tomorrow to talk about that one, and I'll get a little bit more into detail on that as the show goes on. So without any further ado, let's talk about the main topic today, and this is listed under rumors, completely under rumors. We have no sustainable fact behind this, just a rumor came out this morning about this, and most of you might have already heard about it. But it looks as though Disney and Lucasfilm are potentially looking at doing a soft reboot on the Indiana Jones franchise. Now, what I mean by soft reboot is instead of actually rebooting the entire franchise and saying that in this new universe none of the other movies or none of the other stories actually happened, a soft reboot essentially is what they've done with James Bond. And even though they've never retold the origin story, or with the exception of Casino Royale, they've never actually told the origin story. It's always just been a new face to the character. And so what this means is that that's essentially what they would do. They'd look for a new actor to come in and play the role of Indiana Jones while potentially still acknowledging the existence of the other three films. Notice I said three. When it comes to something like this, I don't know about how much legitimacy I'd put behind it, also considering the fact, even though it's not today, we're right on the cusp of April Fool's Day, and I feel like this news kind of came out a few years ago when they said that J.J. Abrams was announced to reboot the Indiana Jones franchise, was going to be doing another one, and it wasn't just an April Fool's gag, like they do every year, but this seems too close to that. Actually, when I first read it, that's what I thought. I was like, is it April Fool's? And it wasn't. So, but the person who they have at the top of their list, now again, these are all rumors. These people, first off, even if this was actually happening, none of these names that are on this supposed list have even been talked to yet. So no talks have been done, no negotiations have started. This is just kind of their wish list. And the person who's at the top of their wish list is Bradley Cooper. Now, when you take a look at Bradley Cooper and you take a look at the character of Indiana Jones, the two go well together. Even if you watch Raiders of the Lost Ark, you can kind of see Bradley Cooper in that kind of role. If Indiana Jones, or if Raiders of the Lost Ark had been made today, you would definitely bet your bottom dollar that that Bradley Cooper would have been on the short list of people considered for that role, because he has that look, he has that bravado, he has that charisma about him that the role of Indiana Jones actually brought to the screen. Now, the thing about this, and this other project was actually almost done a few years ago, and I was really hoping for it to be done because I really like this project, and it's very similar. It's almost like a modern day version of Indiana Jones, and that's of Uncharted, and the character of Drake. And I think that Bradley Cooper would make a much better Drake than he would an Indiana Jones. And I think that an Uncharted movie would potentially be a better move. It would be in the spirit of the Indiana Jones movies. The characters very much that. The storylines are very much that. They're all archaeological based, but very mythological and fantastical at the same time. Like the first one has him looking for, I believe, El Dorado, the City of Gold. The last one that came out, Drake's Deception, which was Uncharted 3, had him searching for Shangri-La and the Fountain of Youth. So I mean, they all have these very fantastical moments to them, very much like the original Indiana Jones movies. And I think that when it comes to modern audiences, I think that would translate better into a more modern film than a new Indiana Jones movie. I know that Disney is keen on getting a new Indiana Jones film. Rumor has it, they haven't even confirmed this other news yet, but rumor has it that part of Harrison Ford's deal to come back for Star Wars Episode 7, again, this is rumor, we don't even know if this is true, but part of his deal to come back for Star Wars Episode 7 was that he is guaranteed another Indiana Jones movie. Whether or not the studio wanted to actually do one, I mean, I'm assuming that they definitely would want to do one, because when you look at the fact that the one that's not part of the Indiana Jones franchise made almost $800 million worldwide, there is still an audience for it. But I think that Uncharted would maybe not necessarily do better, but it would be a better film. It's something better to mine from. It's got better mythology. In my personal opinion, it's got better mythology to mine from. A lot of people also cannot separate the role of Indiana Jones with Harrison Ford. You can't see anyone else in that role at all. It's not a James Bond type deal where you had Sean Connery play him for I believe 7 or 8 times, or possibly only 6, and then Roger Moore came in and replaced him, playing a very different version of that character. And I think that if somebody wanted them to redo Indiana Jones, they would need to keep the character the same. That's why I think they're going with a soft reboot, because that way you don't have to explain that even though it's a rebooted franchise, the characters are still acting the same. Like, look at the new Star Trek franchise. Even though the characters still have their core aspects to them, they're very different because it's a more modernized version. They're more 21st century, if you will. They're more just contemporary. And again, yeah, they plan on doing one within the next few years, or at least that's their hope. With Harrison Ford. And if they do that, I mean, the dude's going to be, by the time the movie starts shooting, he's going to be like 75, 76 years old. And that was, story aside, script aside, I felt that the action in the other, I'm not even going to call it by its name, the other film that's not part of the trilogy, the action was just boring. You have stupid, what's his name, swinging on vines with monkeys. Like, I mean, come on. I was watching AMC Movie News, and on AMC Movie News, John Schnepp even pointed out, who's one of the talk show hosts on there, or the guest host, I'm sorry. He even mentioned that the monkeys themselves have the same hairstyle that Shia LaBeouf had. And when I heard that, I almost had to go and rewatch that scene, but it's so bad that I just couldn't do it. But I mean, the fact that they went that far to do something like that, the action scenes look slow. Like that chase through the jungle, they were going like 10 miles an hour. It just felt like it, and nothing felt quick about it. You know, like watching him swing it. I thought that was funny the first time I saw it, when he tries to swing onto the truck and he misses, and then goes back into the other truck, sits there, makes a comment to the camera essentially, and then goes and disperses of the guys on either side of him. It was so just slow. Like that wouldn't happen now. Like people, that's too much of a suspension of disbelief. People cannot get past that kind of stuff. You know, that's like if you were to do, oh, what would be a good example of this? I can't even think of anything off the top of my head. But it's just, I mean, trying to do stuff like that, and then the nuking I'm not even going to get into it. I'm not getting into it. It'll just get me mad. But if they do a 5th one, rumor has it that Frank Darabont has been commissioned to write a story for it. Or maybe not commissioned, but he has an idea for what he would like. And George Lucas, back in 2003, shot down this script, and that's why they never ended up moving forward with it. They went with his dumb idea about aliens, or what they turned out to be interdimensional beings, which was just garbage. I can't get behind this movie. I can't do it unless Frank Darabont was to come in and do it, because people forget Frank Darabont is the man who's responsible for the most unlikely Stephen King movies ever, and one of, if not the absolute best movie ever made, in The Shawshank Redemption. He also did The Green Mile. He did The Mist. He was the showrunner for The Walking Dead for the first season. He was the one who actually brought that show to the air. And so the reason I think that George Lucas shot it down was because it didn't have aliens in it. Because I mean, both him and Spielberg have to have aliens and everything. I mean, look at AI. AI, artificial intelligence, the movie that Spielberg did back in 2001, was a Stanley Kubrick pet project. And Kubrick was planning on doing that after he shot Eyes Wide Shut. Unfortunately, he died, I believe, while shooting Eyes Wide Shut, or shortly after finishing that movie. But I'm pretty sure he died during filming. But he and Spielberg were going to pair up and do AI. And so when he died, Spielberg said, no, this is definitely going to be my next project. I'm doing it in honor of him. And what did he do? The end of the movie, it's about robots, okay? It's about artificial intelligence and the fact that these things can actually feel. What do they bring in at the end? Aliens. Like, really? Come on, Spielberg. You don't need aliens in every friggin' movie. I hope that aliens are not involved in Jurassic World, which, by the way, is coming out next summer. Really excited for that. But, I mean, aliens coming in with dinosaurs and them teaming up together to fight humans. If that's the story, I'm done. I'm out of it. I can't handle it anymore. But I don't think that that's the way that they're going to go with that. And I think Spielberg's gotten his alienness out of his system, at least for now. But if this ends up being legitimate, which I don't think it will be, I think it is just going to stay in the rumor mill for now. And then on April Fools, they'll come in and say, "Ah ha ha, you know, it's a big joke, it's a big joke." But I don't think that this has any legitimacy behind it. We'll wait and see, absolutely. And if it does, and they go ahead and cast Bradley Cooper, that is a good choice. Don't get me wrong. I think that out of the like, I can't think of anybody else off the top of my head who I think would be better in that role. I'm sure there are people, but just I mean, physical wise, like look wise, charisma wise, acting wise, he fits all the necessary checklists. So he may work. He may do really well, but only time will tell if this actually ends up becoming true. And now we get on to the trailers. So the first trailer was one that I talked about on Monday's show, which was the new trailer for Tom Cruise's new sci-fi action film, Edge of Tomorrow. If you want, you can view. I got a link in the description below of the video, so definitely check that out if you haven't already. But the thing with this trailer was the second trailer that was released, and you get a much better sense of the world that they've created. That they're on the brink of an invasion. An alien invasion is about to take place, and Tom Cruise is really playing against type of sorts in this movie. He's playing a military guy who pretty much gets killed in the first 5 minutes of the battle because he's so inexperienced. Like I believe, if you look closely in the first trailer, he looks like he's been arrested for something or is being detained for something. And then they just tell him, okay, go suit up. You're coming in with us because everyone needs to fight because the world's about to end. And this gives us a much better understanding of the characters and of their relationships, especially between the main two characters, Tom Cruise's character and Emily Blunt's character. You really get a sense that these people, in a way, know one another. You really don't, really kind of unclear on that. I do believe that, because in the first trailer they said that Emily Blunt's character had already lived through something like this, where she kept reliving every day, and now Tom Cruise is going through it. But in the trailer, it almost gives off the impression that they're both going through it at the same time. Or potentially that he's having to keep reminding her every day that they've done this. But the thing that I really liked is how they showed a lot of the training, because she said in the other trailer, like, "Come find me when you wake up," and basically she meant by that, "I'll help you train." And you get to see some of the training, like him just getting knocked on his ass left, right, and center again, and he ends up breaking his leg, so she just goes up and shoots him and resets him, and he wakes up again at the beginning of that day. So I really like the comedic aspect that they're bringing to it. It is done by Doug Liman, and Doug Liman directed the most notable movies you people would remember would be The Bourne Identity, the first one. He directed Mr. and Mrs. Smith. One movie that I find personally underrated, I think that not enough people actually like this movie. The script could be better, but just the concept alone is really good, is Jumper, with Hayden Christensen and Jamie Bell and Samuel L. Jackson. It's about teleporters. I felt that it was just really cool, especially using those teleporting powers to fight with, and I really wish the movie had done better, because it would have spawned a trilogy. That was the way that they were going with it, and it looked like it was really intriguing, but unfortunately it didn't make enough money. But now with him coming back to doing something like this, I think this is more inside of his wheelhouse. I think this is Tom Cruise seems right at home in sci-fi. He's been doing a lot of sci-fi recently, especially with Oblivion. He's got this. He's got another sci-fi movie coming out, I believe. He's dabbled in sci-fi, some of the best that have ever been done, like Minority Report was a phenomenal movie. The thing that I really found intriguing, and I love that trailers sometimes do this, not all the time, but they alleviate to the fact that there's something else hidden and that other characters know about it. Like Emily Blunt's character says to Tom Cruise in the trailer, she goes, "What else are you not telling me?" And then the shot they chose to use over top of that voiceover was a very kind of focused, determined Tom Cruise walking through a battlefield, like with explosions going off beside him, but he's just walking very focused. So he may have a hidden agenda. He may know more than what he's saying. We really don't know. The movie doesn't come out until June, but the one thing I also took away from it was it reminded me a lot of Source Code, which is a good thing. I really did enjoy Source Code. I felt it was a very smart little action thriller. This one obviously has much more action. It's more of a Halo meets Groundhog's Day, which right there's a movie. Hollywood, make it. That sounds awesome. If you literally just take Bill Murray in Groundhog's Day and mix him in with the Master Chief, gold. That's $100 million opening weekend minimum right there. Just make it. Make it. But with Source Code, the one thing I was really surprised at was I never really felt tired, me personally at least, I never really felt tired of the time jumps, jumping back. The one movie I did get tired of that in was the movie called Vantage Point with Dennis Quaid, and Sigourney Weaver was in that. Zoe Saldana was in that movie. Forrest Whitaker. But it's just because it just gets tiresome. It builds up to a certain point and then rewinds. It starts from the beginning, rewinds, starts from the beginning. This, I have a feeling they're going to use it in different ways. They're going to use it in more action suspense ways. They're going to use it in more humorous ways. I'm looking forward to it. Like I said, if you haven't watched it yet, check it out. The link is in the description below, so definitely check that out. And the movie is going to open June 6th. So we've only got, well, geez, June. That's just over 2 months away. Think about that. Up here in Canada, it's freezing cold. It's like -10, -12 outside right now. And in 2 months, it'll be June. June. Summer. Like, ugh. Never mind. Never mind. Next topic. They released the first trailer. I've been really looking forward to seeing something from this movie because we just had one of the same, kind of the same type of movie. Well, pretty much it was about the same character, released back in January. But this is a new version with someone who definitely lives up to the name and finally lives up to the size. But Dwayne Johnson's Hercules. Yeah, The Rock playing Hercules. Finally, we got somebody of the body type to play the man who could literally fight these creatures. The only other time that I've personally seen someone of that physique playing the character, and it wasn't even someone, it was the animated film that came out in the late 90s. I think it was 97 or 98. Just because he was animated, they could build him up as big as they wanted to, and I felt that he was pretty big. But now having The Rock play him, and this is... A lot of people talk about how The Rock is just The Rock. And in this movie, this looks like it's not going to be an Oscar-worthy movie by any stretch of the imagination. First off, it's directed by Brett Ratner. The awards contenders are already saying we're not even going to consider this movie. He's just not a quality filmmaker. The only movie that he's made that I've really enjoyed was Rush Hour 2. Rush Hour was okay. Rush Hour 3 was bad. Red Dragon was okay. I hated Tower Heist. Thought that was just stupid. And I'm drawing a blank of the Pierce Brosnan movie that he did, the tropical heist type film. I can't even remember the name of it. But he does not have a very good track record. And I'm not even mentioning the biggest abomination of his entire career, which was X-Men: The Last Stand. Oh, God, he ruined that franchise. Almost drove it right into the ground. Like, it wasn't good. X-Men was not a good property after that movie came out. A lot of people really hated it. But this is, like I said, this is the definitive version of Hercules. We're finally getting to see that. And seeing The Rock, the size that he is, you can tell the passion that he has for this character on screen because he, at least from what I took away from it, from the few scenes that you actually see him, he looks different. Without, take away the beard, take away the long hair, he just looks different. He looks maybe like he's a little bit more worried. Maybe he's not quite as strong as he looks like he is. Maybe he becomes stronger. In the trailer, it shows that when he's about to break out of the chains and he yells his name, "I am Hercules." I think that's when he's actually going to get his demigod status and when he's actually going to get his super strength and really go from there. But he fights a lot of creatures, at least in this trailer. He fights a multi-headed sea serpent thing. He fights a giant boar, and by giant I mean like probably from foot to the top of the back is 12, 14 feet. Like this thing's massive. And he also fights a lion. That lion scene looked really cool. Just the realism of the lion, like not texture-wise, but just the way that it moved. Like when it went up and the way that its paws moved and stuff. I actually felt like it was almost like a motion captured lion. To put it any other way, I can't really think of. But and then you see him wearing the lion's head as a hat. Like that's just badass. The dude kills a lion barehanded and then takes its scalp and makes a hat out of it. I'm not into hunting, but that's badass. It literally was the definition of a teaser trailer. We really don't get any sense of the story or anything of that sort when it comes to the movie, so we really don't know what sort of movie this is going to be. Brett Ratner and The Rock both came out a while ago and said that this was going to be taken before he's the demigod, before he's the Hercules that everyone knows, and they said it was taking a more realistic approach to it. And then we see the trailer, we see him fighting multi-headed sea serpents and giant lions and giant boars. So I really don't know what to take away from this movie. It looks like it's going to be entertaining as all hell, but I mean that's just because of The Rock. The Rock just oozes charisma. the guy can, in my personal opinion, he has not done anything wrong yet with any of his performances on screen. If you haven't seen it yet, excuse me, if you haven't seen it yet, watch him in Pain and Gain, and he will surprise the crap out of you. He is awesome in that movie. If there's that movie alone was really entertaining, but if there's one redeeming quality from it, it's The Rock. Like he is just everybody in that movie is awesome, but he definitely is a standout, playing the cokehead that he is. So I felt like that was really good. And the last topic today is the new Red Band trailer for the new comedy Let's Be Cops. I originally wasn't even going to include this in today's episode, but I rewatched the trailer again when I got home, and holy God, is it funny! It looks really funny. It's Jake Johnson and Damon Wayans Jr. from The New Girl, and Damon Wayans Jr. obviously the offspring of Damon Wayans. They play these two friends who I believe they get invited to what they think is a costume party. It turns out to be a masquerade party, where you dress up in like tuxes and stuff like that, and you wear masks. Well, they go and they go as they try to decide between two things. They end up deciding to go as cops, and then they find out that it's not a costume party, and they end up pretending to be cops. Even like walking down the street and trying to bust some kids for smoking pot, and then they end up actually smoking it with them and go like, "Oh, that's some really good stuff." And to me, one of the funniest parts of the trailer was when they found out that the guy went and got a cop car. Like he actually found a cop car on eBay. The guy goes, "Where'd you find it?" He's like, "On eBay, man." He's like, "That's so illegal." He goes, "No, it's not." Well, maybe. When you watch the trailer, like it's literally just a laugh a minute. Great chemistry from these guys. They've worked together for a few years now on The New Girl, so they have that great chemistry. And the different antics these guys get involved with, like the bust they try to do at the end of the trailer with the sorority girls, is just absolutely hilarious. Them just getting thrown around the room. It just looks so funny. But the one thing that I would take away from it, and the one thing that worries me about it, is it almost looks like Seth MacFarlane wrote it. And what I mean by that is it looks like it's with a very thin through line throughout all of these segments. It looks like it's just going to be random encounters that really have nothing to do with the overall movie, that have no bearing on whether or not they get from point A to point B. It may be different. Like this is obviously just a Red Band trailer, so it's trying to adhere to a certain demographic. It's not a general trailer. But that's what I took away from it. I mean, I was laughing the entire time. Don't get me wrong, this is absolutely hilarious. Very similar feeling to what I got when I saw the trailer for Neighbors. And Neighbors, from what I've heard of, is very thin plot line and just a series of random events that happen throughout the film that really have no bearing on the overall plot. It's just trying to one-up one another. But, I mean, you could take one or leave one, and nothing ever really comes out of it at the end. I haven't seen it, by the way. This is all just comments that I've heard from people who have seen it. But, I mean, I'm obviously looking forward to this movie. This movie looks absolutely hilarious. I'll put the link in the description below for both this and Hercules and Edge of Tomorrow. So definitely make sure you guys check them out, because this looks really funny, and this could be a surprise hit of the summer. It comes out in August. August 13th it'll be released. This could very well be a sleeper hit if they haven't just shown us all the funny bits of the movie. But with these two guys involved, I don't think that is, and I think it's going to be a real comedy gold movie. I think this has this to me could be this year's We're the Millers, because We're the Millers kind of came out of nowhere. Like it looked okay. It looked like it was going to be pretty funny, but then it came out and it was really funny, and it did really well at the box office. So hopefully this does the same thing, because I'd really like both of these guys' careers to really take off and see them get a lot of opportunities. And they only can do that if they're in a movie that does really well. So if you guys really like the actors and want to support them, definitely go out and check out the movie, because then you'll see them in more stuff. The movie will be released on August 13th. So, without any further ado, this has been the next episode of Coming Soon Movie News with Nicholson. Thank you guys so much for watching, and don't forget to tune in tomorrow night for a special episode just about the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles trailer, which will be debuting tomorrow. I believe it's going to be tomorrow afternoon, but it's the first footage revealed for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I've read a description of the trailer online, and it looks to be just a teaser, about a minute and a half long. We only get a few glimpses of the Turtles, but it's a voiceover by Shredder, so I'm really intrigued by it. I'm hoping that it lives up to my expectations, at least for how the Turtles move and react. I hope we get to hear their voices too. I haven't read anything that says that we do or don't, but I mean, the only thing that's sticking in the back of my head is that Megan Fox is playing April O'Neil. And she's just not an actress by any stretch of the imagination. So I will definitely be updating tomorrow about that. So, guys, make sure you check in for that. And don't forget to follow me on Twitter. You can find me on Twitter at Nicholson, Niklsun. And don't forget on the next little slide here to hit the subscribe button. So, without any further ado, this has been Nicholson. You guys have been great. Thank you so much for watching, and hopefully we'll see you next time.